Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be making a stock tank pool. Now you could easily just drop one of these in your backyard, fill it up with water and swim, but we're wanting to make this a permanent solution and one that looks really nice as well. So we're going to be painting this first. I got this home, cleaned it up. It seemed like it had been sitting at the store for quite a while, so it's got quite a bit of dirt on it. So I want to get that off as much as possible. And then if there's any oil residue from the manufacturing process of this stock tank, I want to make sure I wash all of that off to help the paint stick better to this metal. Now that the inside of the pool is washed and clean, I'll rinse that down, then flip it over to the other side and start cleaning the bottom and the sides of the pool as well. We decided not to paint the inside of the pool. You can go ahead and do that, but you might want to sand down the layer of metal that's in there to try to get to the metal surface so you're not painting on the galvanized. It won't stick like it's supposed to. It might end up peeling off inside the pool. And you also have to get pool safe paint. But with all that in mind, we decided not to paint the inside. It should be perfectly fine and last a really long time with that galvanized layer. For the bottom, we are going to be painting this because we're setting this stock tank on top of a gravel area. It's fairly small gravel, but it does have a chance of scratching that galvanized layer and then starting to rust, and I want to just avoid that as much as possible. So I'm going to lightly sand this down. This isn't taking off the galvanized layer. It's just scuffing it up a little bit so that hopefully the paint will have a better chance of adhering to it. So I'm going to take some of this gray Rust-Oleum paint, I'll spread this out over top, a really nice thick layer, and then I'll let that dry and come back and add a second layer on top of that as well. This used the full quart of Rust-Oleum paint, there was none left over, so that worked out alright. I'll finish up the bottom and then move on to painting the sides next. Now that the bottom's painted and has fully dried, I'm going to flip this over and get started on the sides. And I need to prep the surface because there's a few stickers that I need to peel off. And these are really annoying stickers. They do not want to come off, and there's a lot of sticky residue that's left over. What I ended up doing is taking a little propane torch and heating up the inside of the pool, which allowed me to peel the sticker off, and most of the sticky residue came off, but there still was quite a bit. So I'm going to use some lacquer thinner and try to dissolve a lot of that sticky residue that's left behind. The paint is not going to want to stick to this. It's going to mess up the whole process. Then I'm going to come back just to make sure everything is off. I'm going to lightly sand where those stickers were. Then after all of that, I can move on to priming the surface and then painting after that. I've got this Universal Bond primer from Rust-Oleum. I'm going to spray this on. I got the white primer because it's really close to the color that we're going to be painting, which is just a slight off-white or cream color. So I'm going to go through, and I could have maybe gotten a few more cans of this and done 2 coats of primer. But I'm not too worried about it. The primer's really just there to cover the surface and help it bond with the metal and keep the paint from peeling off. I'm going to come back with 3 more coats of the finish color that I'm going to be using on this and paint and make sure that everything is completely covered and we've got a nice thick layer of paint on it. Now for the color we're going to be painting this is Shell White from Rust-Oleum, and it has multiple different nozzles on this sprayer. We're going to be using 4, which is a vertical fan, so you can paint horizontally really well, cover a lot of area pretty fast. Now if you notice, I didn't tape off the top rim of the pool. I wanted it to sort of fade from the off-white Shell White on the outside to the metallic silver on the inside. To do that, I basically just held the spray can level with the top of the pool, spraying straight in at it, and it sort of feathered it off and didn't get any paint on the inside of the pool. Now we're going to be moving the pool to where our fire pit is, and we'll have to move this pool during the fall and winter so we can have our fire pit back. But this is a really nice area close to the house, but it's not huge, so having a smaller pool like this stock tank is perfect for what we need, and our girls will love having this pool, and it's just deep enough for them to really enjoy, but not really be too dangerous. So we're going to need to prep this area so that it's level and ready for the pool. The slate chips we had in this sitting area were too large. They're not easy to level, and they'll end up scratching up the bottom of the pool. So we got some crushed slate chips. If you have an area you can put this pool, you'll want to use sand or something really small that you can level, and it's going to be gentle on the bottom of the pool. So that's what we're using here, slate chips. We can level this out really well. It still matches with the rest of the sitting area, and we're just gonna spread this out over the whole area now so it matches and it covers up all the old larger slate chips. We're on a slight hill here, so we do need to build up the one side more than the other, and we're trying to level this out the best that we can because it's really important that pools are sitting level. You'll easily notice it if it's not. One side will be closer to the rim than the other when you fill it up with water, and so we're going to take some extra time making sure that this is level, using a board and a level to spread out the whole area to make sure both directions are level and it looks good before we put the pool on it. Now the fun part, everything's level. Now we get to see what it looks like in this space. We're gonna put the pool where it needs to go now and check one more time, making sure that everything's level and it looks good. So we'll move on to the next step, but it's been a crazy hot summer. I'm sweating like crazy. I couldn't help but hopping in and sort of imagining what this is gonna be like all finished. I'm really happy with it. I can't wait till we can fill it up and start enjoying it. We have a bunch of extra slate chips, so we're going to go ahead and cover up the rest of the larger slate chips and level out this area a bit more now that the pool is finished. And then we'll have to rearrange the furniture quite a few times till we finally get a setup that we like. Once that's finished, I can move on to finally installing the pump and then filling up the pool. Here's the pool pump we're going to be using. I'll leave the link down in the description below. I'm going to be drilling 2 holes through the side of the pool and installing these outlets for the pool to suck in the water, filter it out, and blow it out into the other side. Now this is a fairly small pool. I believe this pool pump is probably overkill for this size of pool, but it's going to work fine for us. I will drill this out and then use a metal jigsaw blade to cut the hole out of this pool. I didn't have a metal hole saw that was the right size for this, so I just ended up using what I had around already, and that was this jigsaw. I'm spacing these holes about 4 feet apart. You don't want them right side by side, or else you end up filtering the same water and not circulating as much. It won't be quite as effective. So I spread these out about 4 feet, and then they ended up being at the same height because the ribs in the pool, you can't really have one near the top and one near the bottom, so they're just both in the center. I've got some plumbing putty here because the pool is curved. The fittings they provided are straight, and so I'm going to have a little bit of a gap in there that will help seal that and make sure there's no water leaks. To install the plumbing putty, I'm just going to roll this into a rope pretty much, about 1/4 inch thick. I'll wrap it around the fitting and then just lightly squish it down into the corner there. I don't want to cover up the threads or anything because that will just make it a little bit more difficult to tighten down in just a minute. But as I tighten that down, you can see the plumbing putty squeeze out all the way around the fitting. You know it's working at that point as long as it's squeezing out evenly and not just in one area. Now I'm a little concerned hand tight is not quite tight enough to stop all of the leaks, so I'm going to tighten this down a little bit more with some water pump pliers. Not crazy tight, just tight enough that it sort of bottoms out. While I'm installing the hoses and the pump into the new fittings I installed, I'm just going to go ahead and start the water filling up. This is going to take several hours to fill up completely. I'll attach the hoses and the pump. You'll want to make sure that you take the filter out of this pump because it is in a plastic bag. That's not going to work at all if you leave it the way it is, so make sure you do that. I'm going to go ahead and strain off a lot of the junk that's in the pool. There are some metal shavings from cutting those holes on the fittings, so I got all of those out and plugged in the filter once it was completely full. It's working great. We've had it now installed for quite a few months and we've enjoyed this all summer long. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you want to do a stock tank pool, I think they're a great idea, a great solution if you have a small yard or you just like the look of it. It's a great pool and we're going to be using it for quite a few years ahead. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Everything I used in this video to create the stock tank pool will be in the description below. You can go check that out, as well as a link right here on the screen. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you have not already, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.